Hey guys, hey, welcome Red Door family. We are doing something new today, as you all know, because I know that you've been tuned in to all of our recent videos of this upcoming awesome chance to talk with Matt Coleman. Now, Matt is somewhat of a long-term investor. We'll get some ins and outs on the specifics of his investment journey here in just a minute. But he was kind enough to join us here for a little bit of a raw interview on not just his investor journey, but also his experiences here since he's been working with Red Door for the last few years. So, Matt, thank you so much for joining us. It's a real pleasure to have you. We couldn't be more grateful that you're going to set aside some time here to talk with us and give us some raw information, not only for viewers and not only for investors to really get an idea of what they should be looking for when they're looking for a management company, but also for us, right? I mean, we want to be able to put out the best service that we can as a management company. We know that there are always going to be areas that we can improve. We want to be aware of those areas, and we want to put energy towards those areas so that we're providing the best service that we can for our current clients, very certainly, but also clients that might potentially join us in the future. So thank you so much, Matt, for joining us. And then, of course, I'm joined here with Mike Taylor, broker owner of Red Door Property Management, who is also kind enough to set aside some time for this quick interview. So thank you both for being here, Matt. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much, Matt, for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's been a long time since we spoke, so it's a pleasure. I was looking forward to this one.
Yeah, right. I mean, we rarely see each other in person these days. I mean, almost everything we do is technology based in one form or another, which you've also integrated super well into. Which, thanks for that. Thanks for that too. But won't waste so much time with all the niceties. I could say thank you all day because I am extremely grateful that you're here. But I'm going to jump into the first question and let's get this thing kicked off if you're ready.
Yeah, sure thing. Fire away.
All right, here we go. The first question here. Now, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about Matt Coleman and how you got started in real estate investing? I know that's going to be a huge question there's so many people, especially today with all the talk about inflation, people are wanting to get into the real estate space, where appreciation is truly happening. What got you started? What got you into real estate investing?
Yeah, sure thing. I knew a couple guys who were already into real estate investments. They had one or two properties each, and we used to kind of hang out and talk about, this was back during the COVID. And so 4 or 5 years ago, and we used to always talk about, gosh, rates are so good right now. One of us should pick up an investment property or two. And then the conversation kind of changed to, hey, why doesn't one of us pull out some money out of our retirement account and give it a try? So we all made a pact at one point that we were going to give it a shot. There were 4 of us. And I think 3 out of the 4 of us pulled out money out of our retirement account to get started. I also sold my house and purchased a smaller house. So I had some more equity to get started.
Wow. That is a fascinating start.
Yeah, you've got to want to do it, I guess. You've got to want to have the desire. You've got to have the guts. But you know what? It always works out in the end. Real estate, is forgiving. So even though there were hiccups along the way, I wouldn't take anything back. I almost wouldn't do it any other way. Close. But I'm glad I gave it a shot.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I'm hesitant to go on to the first question. I'm immediately just bombarded with other questions I want to ask. Because what an interesting start. Because when we first met at your first property, which I'm just assuming that was your first property.
Sure was.
It was. Yeah. I mean, gosh, you seemed like you had it figured out. And then it really didn't take you long before you went from the first one rolling right into the second one. I mean, so that's interesting to know that's how you started, but you came off as pretty experienced, right from the first meeting.
Well, as the 4 of us would buckle down 2 or 3 times a week and watch online videos. I won't mention the name of the different brands of videos we watched about real estate, but we watched tons of how-to videos on apartments and single homes. And, the focus at first was let's get together and buy an apartment complex. Mm-hmm. Then it turned into, we all want to do it a different way. Let's each buy our own small apartment complex.
Yeah. Then
for me, it turned into, I'm just going to do it on my own. And I wouldn't personally live in an apartment complex. I was a renter for 10 years back in college and afterwards. And I always looked for a single family home for myself. So we don't really buy anything we personally wouldn't live in, which is kind of a weird rule. It's not the best of rules, but it's something we just used as a sniff test along the way as we purchased real estate.
No, I
Single
think
home.
that's a great rule. I think it's a really great rule. Yeah, if it's something that you're willing to live in, it's likely going to be a good product for good potential. I mean, clients, right?
Yeah.
People you're going to place in your property. Yeah, I think it's a great sniff test.
Matt, did you have any other local groups that you attended to, or was it just your group of 4 friends that you guys got together with?
In the end, it was just friends. I reached out to real estate clubs around the area, and then I just never really thought I needed it. I found my resources online. It seemed like it, you know, really between my friends who had already done real estate and done rentals through you. I felt like I had all the tools in front of me without having to really go to any of those clubs or meetings.
Sure.
Not that I don't still think once in a while I probably could use that. I've never gone to one.
Yeah, yeah,
Interesting.
interesting. Well, I know when you acquired the property, and this is going to lead me to the second question here. When you first started, what were you looking for in a property management company? But just to add a little bit to that, is were you thinking that you would even use a property management company?
No, actually, in the beginning,
I thought so.
right?
Yeah,
It didn't take long to figure out we didn't have enough time or resources to be a property manager ourselves. Before I ever spoke to you, we'd figured that out. But in the beginning, no, I thought I could take it all on and do it all myself and save money. But
yeah,
in reality, if you're a 9 to 5 guy like me, you don't have near the time or resources, knowledge, experience to really do that. Honestly, that's not a great
yeah.
idea.
Yeah, exactly, and it's a great answer, an answer I certainly love to hear, right? As the property management company, and it's insightful, and I mean it's real. So once you realized that you needed the property management company, was there anything specific that, or was it just an exploratory mission at that point? Knowing you and what you just mentioned, you probably were looking up some online resources on what you should be looking for a property management company. But was there anything specific that you were looking for before you picked up the phone and gave me a call?
Sure, I trolled the internet. I
Yeah,
looked around at local property management websites. Some had a lot of information. Some are very discreet at what they want to talk about on their website. And you kind of have to get a hold of somebody. And mostly you just have to get a hold of somebody.
yeah,
But you can
bingo.
get, yeah. And so I did some pricing, got some quotes around, and nobody could beat you on the pricing. And what else I noticed was that I already had 2 people who were giving me a good reference that, hey, I've never had any problems. Why don't you just go for it and just use Red Door? So, for me, it was an easy choice. Even though I did do some research and I sniffed out 4 or 5 different, probably 5 or 6 different local property managers, and as a beginner, I didn't have a lot to compare, and I still don't.
Yeah,
So it was tough to make that leap. But you guys were quick to reach out. You made it easy. Everything was online, like I love. So, it was a good fit immediately. And one of the other big things is, as you know, my properties are spread out through multi counties. And I found out quickly not every property manager wants to take on 4 different counties.
that's right.
So
That's
there's
true.
that.
That's true. That's true. And as Indy continues to expand and it's continuing to be a growing market, we find ourselves wanting to stretch even further.
Yeah.
So let me
Cool.
know if you do look at other properties even further out. Not
All
that I'm
right.
not that I'm encouraging you to, but let me know if you do.
Good to know. Well, we'd prefer Indianapolis, which I guess brings up another point is, prices with real estate go up and down. And sometimes we just felt like Indianapolis was overpriced. And that's when we start to look outside of Indianapolis to see what
Yeah.
prices are. So we're
Matt, do you have
forced.
any areas that you prefer to invest in or you think are up and coming? Chris and I do market reports every single month. Actually, we just got done doing one for July. And like for example, one of the areas that we're highlighting is Anderson as a kind of up and coming because it is so affordable from an investor's point of view and from a just like a housing affordability point of view. So I think you have one or two in Anderson. Do you have any markets that you really like right now?
You almost touched on a later question of what would I have done differently.
Oh,
And
okay.
We're going
yeah,
rogue already. We're going rogue.
I know.
Okay. Well, let's save
So
it.
I will. Well,
Okay.
I like Anderson. And once we realized that the spring prices all go so far up around Indianapolis, we started driving around Anderson just to look. And finally we learned the whole town. And then we found some places where we started looking at houses. I love, the north side of Indianapolis, the outskirts, Sheridan, even though it's already getting priced in,
Yeah.
we still have Anderson. And even Pendleton is worth a look if you can find a
Mm-hmm.
fixer upper.
Yep.
Yes, the rent is high in Pendleton, and there's some rundown houses up there. So we're
Hmm.
always on the lookout for something around, you know, Ingalls, the northeast side, even Greenfield. We like.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, your opinion, and I want to keep this on task because your story has already just fascinated me, and I love your outlook because I've been in this business for almost 20 years now, and you seem to just have it figured out. Even the areas that you look in, it's like I agree. So you're obviously a quick learner. So I'm gonna go into the next question. Let's keep this moving along here. Okay, which of the services do you find are most valuable and why? If you have any favorite services that we happen to offer, what's appealing to you the most?
Oh my gosh, it's the showings by
Mm,
far. It's the showings and finding a candidate. Because at first I thought I might have time, then I thought my wife might have time, and even though if we'd made time, we weren't sure we wanted to even do it. So the fact that you guys can filter and find a good candidate and do all the showings, the incredible amount of showings sometimes you've had to do for a couple of our units,
yeah.
is just something that is the most valuable part for sure,
That's
hands
good.
down.
That's good. Yeah, and you happen to pick really good properties. You are, and this is I keep saying this, and I'll keep saying it. I don't want to feel like I'm tooting your horn too much, but you do find good properties. And not only that, you're realistic about the market price that you're hoping to achieve. I found that which has played well to you because you're aware and you're not trying to achieve some super unrealistic rental amount that you right off the bat are very commonly seeing a lot of activity from nearly day one of marketing. And then hopefully you're receiving the market report, market updates that our team is hopefully sending you on a weekly basis once you have a property that's on the market. Hopefully you're seeing value from those.
Definitely. We have to kind of watch and monitor, how many showings are we getting? What's the positive or negative feedback? And we definitely pay attention whether or not we need to make a price reduction, especially is what we constantly weekly consider when we have
Yeah.
one on the market.
Exactly. And that's what our team tries to make sure that you're up and informed on a weekly basis, letting you know what activity we're having on a property, and then hopefully suggesting what decisions need to be made in order to place a tenant as soon as possible.
Right, right. That's
Yeah.
correct. You guys have been great at that. Now that I'm deeper into it with more units, I can't even imagine having a fraction of the amount of time it takes to accomplish that. So kudos
Yeah.
to you guys. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm sure it's saving time for you to be searching out your next deal too, which
Right.
I know that you're always on the search for.
that's right. That's right.
Okay. All right. Well, let's keep going here. What challenges have you potentially faced? Which we may have already covered that. I mean, one of your challenges, I think that you've at least mentioned. Maybe you'll have another one here, but it's showing the unit, right? You just don't have the time, so which you've had to acquire a property management company that's able to perform those showings.
Correct. And also, unfortunately, the eviction process. You know,
Mm.
Mm, mm.
I'm not a legal guy whatsoever, nor would I attempt to, take on something like that. I would probably, uh, I'd hire a lawyer myself. You guys provide that, all the services. I don't have to worry about it at all. That's amazing. That's huge. So that's kind of a challenge, but you guys have the answer with the experience and the resources to tackle something like that. I wouldn't even know where to begin. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Knowing you, I'm sure you'd quickly find it out, but you don't have to spend the time doing that because we roll right into it. And unfortunately, that's a realistic a factor when you have rental properties, right? You're going to, especially as you continue to grow at the pace that you're growing, you're going to come across evictions. It's just a part of it. Mike, you have something to add there?
No, I was going to just say, just as, and I know, Matt, I think you've kind of added property after property after property, and I think you've got, gosh, almost 10 now. But when you have one or two, you may be able to have time yourself. But I mean, as you add more to your portfolio, it becomes a part-time job. I mean, even 10 homes, managing 10 homes is a part-time job if you're just doing that yourself, between the showings and the maintenance requests and the applications and then, if there's an eviction, things like that, it can become a part-time job. So
Oh yeah, it's an amazing amount of work. I'm not the property manager, and I still have to keep my eye out all the time on a daily basis.
yeah,
Yes, you're correct.
yeah,
So there's just the more you add, it just becomes impossible without help.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, the next question is something that we're constantly trying to work on, and it's something I know that it's just something that we're going to constantly have to continue to work on because it's such an important factor. I hear it all the time. I mean, my job as business development manager is new owner acquisitions. I'm talking to new owners. I'm talking to new investors. Their number one concern is communication. And I know why, because so many other management companies do lack in good communication. And I know why that is. It's such a hard thing to maintain, communicating as many aspects of managing the property that managing a property entails. So here's the question: how important is communication in property management, and how do you feel our team measures up? And I want you to be honest and real.
Well, communication's huge. It might be the biggest thing when you really think about what could happen with the breakdown of communication. So, in the beginning, when you just have one, two, three, even 4 or 5 properties, I never even opened up your portal. It's easy in the beginning to not have to look or pay attention or not communicate. But then as you add more, communication becomes more important. So I think, you've kind of changed hands and things have gotten even better. Not that they weren't bad to begin with. You had a great front person at your office, and your new person's even better. So, but I've had more problems with more units, twice as many problems as before, and that's to be expected. So I find myself emailing twice as much, maybe opening the portal twice as much. So it's hard to say. I think that overall you've continued to improve what you've done, in my
awesome.
opinion, and the
Well,
portal's
yeah.
better now too, with more features, statements, bills. Anyway.
Do you like we've really tried to lean into video this year, not only with our kind of like podcast and market reports, but with communication to our owners. So, when you have a vacant property, we send you a weekly video. I know that you and I have exchanged some videos to go over some things on the statements. Do you find value in that type of communication, in the videos, the looms? Do you like that? I know you're a technology guy, so I would think that you would, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's key. I can rewind it over and over until I understand. Yeah, those are big. Without the video, I don't know how I would have followed some of that stuff verbally or even with a phone call. That's
Yeah,
tough to
yeah,
explain what's going on. And as you know, there's a couple of them I had to literally rewind a little 8-second part over and over, but you've got the video. So
yeah.
yeah, it's great. Yeah, I really appreciate the videos
Oh,
and the
good,
financials
good,
especially. That's just tough stuff.
good.
Yeah, that's great
Appreciate it.
additional question there, Mike, because
Very
that is
good.
something we're trying to integrate more and more, is more video communication. So it is great to hear for the first time some actual feedback that there's some value
Yeah,
there.
really cool.
Okay,
Oh yeah,
all right. Well, do you have anything else to add there?
just that those are super helpful. If you have some kind of weird financial that comes up, you can pull up the software on your end on the admin side,
Right.
check it all out as a list. It was really simple to see. Then I could go back on my end of the portal and say, oh, okay, it all makes sense now. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's even better to talk with somebody because I mean, it sounds like you've interacted with the owners portal, which so many owners don't use all of the things that are available to them. And it sounds like you are. And I love the changes that they've made to the owners portal, all the things that you can see in real time, including tenant ledgers and rent rolls and all that stuff.
Yeah, super cool stuff added.
So, can you share an experience in this? And don't feel the need to go too elaborate here, but can you share an experience with how we've handled a maintenance and repairs for you and your properties?
Oh gosh, yeah. How about the refrigerators? How about I don't know. It just seems like I don't know how many refrigerators have gone out on us over the years, and you need a new one, and I don't know. It's just so easy to call Best Buy. Let me say, I'll just set it right there. So, oh well, you might have to edit that part, but Just call somebody else. Let me tell you, get a new one, and don't ask questions. Don't try and have an old fridge repaired. In fact, don't have any appliances repaired anymore. Those days are gone. I think it's just get something new. Forget it.
You would never think that Matt it was anywhere near which he's been in it for several years now. So, but I mean, got much more experience than you would think because you're right. Yeah. I mean, so many newer investors want you to spend so much more time for a refrigerator repair, diagnosing it. How can it, sending people out, which these days nobody goes out for free, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's driving out for free. So that's going to come with a cost. The repair itself comes with a cost. And so trying to relay that information to the owner, well, we can do that, but based on the issues that the refrigerator is having, we might want to consider another approach. And it sounds like you are already aware.
Oh yeah, we're there. We're over the whole like repair appliances period. It's just forget it. We're in the throwaway age. You get 5 years out of appliances and just chalk it into your profit loss. Period. That's it. It's easier.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Good. That's a good one. That's a good one that you shared on appliances. All right, let's get into tenant relations. How do you feel about the way we manage tenant relations and overall tenant satisfaction? And again, I know right now we're talking about some things that pertain to you working with us, and we'll get into more of your investor role here in a minute. And I want you to be raw. How do you feel we've managed tenant relations?
This is the part where I want to say you're walking on water. It's really not my forte. Turns out it's no one in my business's forte to be able to constantly handle tenant relations. So it's nice. It's been great to have a buffer because I don't know if I'd have the patience, quite frankly, that you guys have. And so that's what I mean when you're walking on water. I don't know how you guys get it done the way you get it done. You find a fair way to treat both parties, both sides, and you adhere to the laws, the rules. When a lot of times I don't know what the laws and the rules are. So you're my reference, you're my experience, right. And I'm always going to go with your lead, really. If you recommend something, I'm probably going to go with it. You guys know better than I do. You really do.
Mike, I'll let you. I mean, God, there's a million things you could say there, right? Tenant relations is tough to manage. Do you anything you want to start with adding before I take over?
No, I just wanted to appreciate those kind words because it is something that we work hard at, and it is. You're right. We are, as the property manager, we are stuck in the middle, oftentimes, and trying to negotiate both sides of the transaction, where we're trying to treat the tenant fairly because we're of the mindset that we want to have a happy tenant because we think that provides a better return for the investor. Though they're gonna renew more, they're gonna treat the property better. It's just we kind of have the philosophy that a happy tenant is a better tenant and provides a better return on investment for our owners. So that's just really encouraging to work with you, Matt. We appreciate your side of it as well. Taking our advice, that's super appreciated as well.
Yeah. There's been a lot of things lately that have come up that are gray areas, things that aren't in the lease.
Yeah.
Again, I don't have the references that you guys have. Things like that have probably come up in the past, and you guys already know. So yeah. I can't imagine. I don't know how large Red Door is or how many guys like me you deal with, but it's probably quite a few from the amount of views I see on your YouTube. So it's got to be a lot. It's got to be a lot.
We didn't pay him for that comment. I swear. It's just
nice.
No, that's yeah. I mean, tenant relations is such a hard. And I'm not gonna stay here for very long. But tenant relations is so hard because we want both parties. Our job is to try and maximize your ROI and. But also have an enjoyable experience for the tenant. Well, frankly, because we feel like that does maximize your ROI, yep. And that can become very gray because it requires some sacrifice on the owner and requires sacrifice on the tenant. And it's very rare that you find both parties that are interested in sacrificing anything. So it's us in the middle trying to explain why it's necessary to take a small loss here for a later larger gain. So can't appreciate your insight already into that enough. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are a must-have. As long as I own properties, I'm going to have you guys. So that's it. Till I'm out of the game, you're in it with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be. Okay. All right. Moving on here. Financial management. So, what are your thoughts on our financial reporting and our transparency in the billing process? And we mentioned a little bit about your engagement with the owner portal, which is awesome. Now, one thing, and this is one thing in particular, I really want to get your perspective on. And I meant to talk to you, Mike, about this also. So, I'm going to go ahead and bring it up here right in the middle of this interview. So we recently changed to doing our reports. So you're getting your reports later than you're receiving your disbursement. So, for example, you receive your disbursement on the 12th of August, but you're not going to see any transactions that happen in the month of August until the end of the month, because we wanted to send you a full accounting display for the entire month. We changed that up, and I'm finding some owners a little bit resistant to that. They want to see a transactional history from the date that their disbursement comes. So something that we as a team, Mike, might want to discuss. But I'm very curious on Matt. Maybe he didn't even realize that we've changed those.
I did.
Reporting. Okay,
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'll let you take over.
I did notice. I did like it the old way a little better, but again, you're kind of walking on water in my eyes. I don't know how in the world you would get all those financials prepared and ready the same day you do a disbursement. That's a huge load. Uh, so to me, it made sense, So granted, there's a week and a half where some dust has to settle, where you might not really understand, where the portal might not match what you thought in your head should be there or not. But it all plays itself out in the end. I think you might have been probably asking yourself to do too much to get all that out on the same day. So I get it. That being said, I just factor it into my head. There might be a week or a week and a half after the disbursement where portal might not match in my head what it should say, but by the end of the month, everything's going to be squared out. You got your monthly statement and everything matches up. So, yeah, I noticed.
Okay,
do I care? No, it's not a big deal. And your new customers won't even know.
They won't.
Yep.
But so if I gave you the choice today, which one would you choose? Would you rather have your transactional histories display from the date your disbursement comes?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought so. And the more I think about it, that's something that we may want to discuss. I do see an advantage there. But anyway, I really was curious on your insight into that. But aside from the way that we're doing statements, do you find that it's transparent enough for you when you receive your statements in any corresponding expenses and things like that? How is that working out?
Perfectly. I mean, I've cross-checked the numbers over and over, and they're always perfect to the dime, to the penny. Perfect, and they all make sense. They're all line items. The forms are easy to read. Monthly statements are as simple as it can be, just like it is on the website. So, to me, it's pretty cut and dry, and it always works out. It always matches. It's one of the best things about. I think that would be the most important thing for all your customers is they get paid correctly and everything's right, and they can see it as line items. So yeah, I've said over and over to my wife, I'm like, here we go again. They got everything right to the penny. But why did I even check? I still check, but who wouldn't? You're an owner. But yeah, you're always perfect. So that's probably the best thing I have to say is, you're always spot on with the financials.
Well, that's good. Sorry, jumping around there. I wanted to make sure I didn't lose power and lose everybody at the same time. So,
oh yeah. So, but no, it was just talking about the financials being right down to the penny, and the monthly statements match what's on portal. If you give it that week and a half for the dust to settle after, you're paid. So,
and yeah, and financials is a big part, again, that I try to stress to owners, certainly when they come on board, that it's important for them to keep an eye on it, because we are human and we do have an accounting software, but a lot of that information that makes it into the accounting software is done by humans, and errors can occur. Luckily, it's extremely minimal, but it's important to pay attention to your financial reports and notify us if there are. I'm glad we've been super accurate with yours. That's great.
I've tried your software, a free trial basis, and
okay, let's carry it on.
Forget it. That's not for me. It's not. It's too much. I've got too much going on to worry about all the financials of night properties. I've tried your the software you use. I've tried the free trial and I gave up. Not that I didn't understand it. I understand the software completely, but yeah, it's just we just literally don't have the resources and time for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like
Yeah.
your choice of software, by the way. It was one of the top ones I was looking at back in the day. Seems like a while ago now.
It's one of the most used, I think, and it's been a while since I've looked at the statistics, but I think 72% of all established property management companies do use
Wow.
AppFolio, which is the software that we use.
Wow. That's cool.
It's definitely the
Yeah.
leading
Okay. Let's.
software, and they are really good about updating and staying on top of things, incorporating the newest technology, which is why we like them, because we tend to be tech focused and tech forward, and that kind of matches our philosophy. So we are really happy with them.
It's nice and simple.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about just quickly here, as we've kind of glossed over it a little bit. How has partnering rather with Red Door helped impact the growth and profitability of your real estate investments?
I tried to quantify this and I can't. It's unquantifiable because I would have failed if I hadn't picked up a property manager. My first idea of I'm going to do this all myself, I would have fallen on my face. I think after probably the third unit, I would have completely floundered. So, it's hard to really quantify the amount of money that you've saved me, but I think you've made my business profitable. I don't even know if my business would have been necessarily profitable if I'd gone with a different property manager. I'm not for sure. So again, it's the tenant screenings that you do. They're pretty thorough. You've managed to find me some really good long-term tenants. So that's
Yeah.
immeasurable. How much it costs to lose a tenant, find another tenant, the cost involved. So we got a lot of tenants signing up for their second and third years, fourth year maybe. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's big.
That
That
is
shows
big.
you've been doing your part, that they're happy, because you're
Well,
handling maintenance,
I mean, it's a team
communication.
effort. It's definitely a team
Yeah,
effort. I mean, you're having longer term tenants because, like you've already alluded to, you've been open to our suggestions when it's necessary, which makes it a lot easier to work with and maintain a long term tenant. So it's, as much as I'd love to hear that, and you appreciate our services, we appreciate you just
Yeah.
as much, because it's helped us perform because you followed our suggestions when necessary.
thank you. It is a team effort.
It is,
Yeah.
and I mean, just to use the appliance repair as an example. I mean, we have a lot of owners who are not maybe as experienced as you, Matt, and so they would really insist that, oh yeah, let's get a bid to replace or repair that appliance. And that might take, sometimes you have to get the appliance repair person out there, then they have to order the part, and then it could take a week to get a repair on a refrigerator. That's a frustrating week for your tenant, where you've got the wisdom and you say, hey, just replace it, and we can get it out there probably the next day. That's a whole lot of a different experience for that tenant versus having to drag this out for a week or two or three, which we see, unfortunately, all too often, of owners who, again, don't have that wisdom and the knowledge to say, you know what, just replace it. And so just little things like that add up over the course of the year, which then says, well, yeah, I do want to renew here. I want to stay here. I like Red Door. I like this owner. So anyway, just it is a team effort, and we, again, appreciate working with you as well.
Yeah, it's about keeping them happy.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Now let's get into a little bit more of kind of your specific investor life, your investor journey. So, what advice would you give someone new to real estate investing if they were sitting next to you, and specifically in terms of property management?
Gosh, you've got to go with someone that's got reliability. I think you've got to go with a larger company actually, and you've got to reach out to people who already use those companies and find references. If you have to go to a real estate club to find your property manager, or if you just know people that already use property managers by word of mouth, you kind of have to go by someone else's personal experience, I think. You can't just look at a website, talk to someone on the phone and say, okay, great. You have to find some real life experiences some success stories out there before you make your decision.
Yeah. Yeah, referral, word of mouth is definitely probably the most powerful, without a doubt. Yeah,
For
yeah,
sure.
and that's
Right.
kind of what we're trying to create here. And you've been super kind. I honestly did not expect so many glorifying reviews as we continue this interview. Um, but yeah, you've been great at giving us a video referral source here so far, and super appreciative of that. So all right, I don't want to eat up time. I can't take up your whole day. So next, what are some common mistakes maybe you have personally made, or you see new
Oh yeah.
investors make?
Back to repairs. It really is about repairs. And you buy that real estate investment, everything gets older the minute you bought it, and maybe some stuff was already pretty old to begin with. You've got to think about hot water heaters and HVAC units, the kind of stuff that always wears out. Maybe you've got a
Mhm.
dishwasher, maybe a washer, drains that might clog over time. It's really your time stock starts ticking. Maybe it's the roof, or maybe it's a few things. So, don't underestimate the price it's going to cost to keep people satisfied. You can't have a leaky roof. You can't have an air conditioner go out. They're not going to re-sign. So keep some dry powder, as they say. Keep maybe twice as much dry powder as you ever expected, because darn it, there's gonna be something's gonna go wrong. I can't
Right.
say that enough, and that's probably a mistake. I was naive. Oh well, who cares? Oh, so the AC unit's a little bit old. Well, that's eventually maybe factor that in before you buy a house. Really look at the age of all the utilities and appliances, the roof, because that stuff's big ticket items, and be
That's
prepared
right.
because, if you got multiple units, you just compounding, when those things are going to go out. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And,
bingo.
and a lot of those, unfortunately, a lot of those bigger ticket items, the HVAC, the roof, the hot water heater, when they go out, they're emergencies, and if a tenant is in there, you've got to get it fixed ASAP. You can't wait a
right.
month or two, or I'll fix that in the winter. No, you got to fix that right now. So just I think it's great advice to look at it on the buy and think about replacing it or fixing it up front versus just trying to squeeze a little more life out of it. So I think that's really good advice.
And vice versa, when you're looking at a place and your realtor's telling you, hey, this has got a brand new roof, or hey, this has got a brand new hot water heater, think about that when you're buying a place too, that's something you might not have to worry about right off the bat.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And go with
yeah,
gas heat. The gas heat lasts longer and just less maintenance than having to buy a heat pump. We
Yep.
found the heat pumps go out a lot more. We kind of knew that going into this. So we always look for gas heat, city water. Just we don't want a well. Things we know could go wrong. Less
Yep.
utilities to worry about.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, going on here, I'm gonna jump around because some of these you've kind of answered, and prefer not to beat a dead horse here. And I think I know the answer to this question about have you worked with other property management companies before? And I think we were kind of the first, and you've stuck with us.
Right. No, you're the one and only. There's no reason to change a good model. We've been successful. We've together as the team. We haven't found a reason to look at any or even consider another property manager. So there's just no reason to. You don't fix
Wow.
something that works right. I mean,
That
it's,
makes me feel all warm inside. Like we've really, actually, probably a bit scary. I mean, I feel like we've earned your trust so much. Like now we just have to continue to maintain it, right?
sure. Well, it's just I sell software on the side. It's the same story. We don't fix software that's not broken. Why would we do that? Why would we update things that don't need updated? So, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Definitely is the story here. So,
Yeah.
we've enjoyed the success. So,
And Matt, correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong, but we've been able to kind of walk with you right from the beginning, right? I mean, I think you guys mentioned it before, but Chris met you at your first property, and you've, I think, not slowly, but relatively quickly added to your portfolio to you're up to 8 or 9 or 10. And I think we've been right there all along the way, correct?
that's right. Every single one.
That's great.
Just the minute they're ready, I give Chris the email. Everything's digital from there. And you guys take it from there. It's from my end. It's super easy. Um, yeah, one email and it's on the market. You know, you guys take the rest from there. So I just watch it unfold. Really, at that point, that's the exciting part. Honestly, when I'm able to call Chris, I'm thrilled. That's like the greatest day, is I'm done with all the hard stuff, the fixes, because we don't buy one that's ready to go ever. We buy fixer uppers, so it's the only way we could figure the numbers to work. And so the day I'm emailing Chris, I'm like beat dead and ready to hand over the keys.
Well, what a coincidence. It's one of my most exciting days too. So
right. It's great. It's good stuff.
All right. Oh, hey, I can't believe it, man. We're moving through. We're coming up to the end of this here. Just a few more insightful questions I have for you. So, number 17 is kind of where I'm lingering at now. What financing options have you used, or would you recommend for beginners? Now, I'm super curious about this. What have you used?
I do 30-year fixed rate mortgages with a credit union as a lender. And I just called around until I found a credit union that could give me a good rate. So that's it.
So,
but I have tried.
Okay, so
all
you did
kinds
mention
of different ways. In the beginning, it was rough. I was calling.
Sorry,
banks.
Matt. Yeah, we were jumping around a little.
Yeah, I was calling lenders and calling banks in the beginning, and I didn't know how to get a loan. I wasn't sure. Finally, I used a real estate agent to refer some lenders to me, and I weeded through those. And I found a local lender that was able to give me a fantastic rate on every house. They couldn't be beaten. And I'll give you the name of the company after we finish the interview, but if you want, I've had multiple real estate agents tell me they couldn't believe the rates I was getting. So I just fish around, and find the right lender. I like the 30-year fixed single homes.
Now, Matt, are you able to get these traditional kind of Fannie Freddie type loans, or is this something that the credit union is keeping as a portfolio loan? Do you know?
It's a portfolio loan.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so you mean you could potentially, because I know on the Fannie Freddie, I think there's a limit of 10 for an individual, which you would be bumping up against. But if it's a portfolio loan, I mean, you could keep adding properties until they say no, right?
Exactly. That's right.
Great.
I just have to prove I'm financially ready to take on another one and keep adding.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, and I don't want to gloss over it because it's an interesting way to get started. You mentioned potentially pulling from your retirement to get started, to jump into the deep end. Is that actually what you proceeded to do, or did you just go talk to a lender first?
I just did it. I fixed up a house and sold it. Then I fixed that house up and sold it. And then I took a chunk out of my retirement account. I took all that money together and got started.
That's fascinating.
Did you actually cash it in, or did you do, because you can do what's called a self-directed retirement account, self-directed IRA. Did you pull it out and do that, or did you actually do a self-directed type account?
I actually pulled it out of a Roth fund and took the 10% beating.
Okay. Well, did you know, and everyone out there listening, that you can avoid that penalty? You can convert that money into it's called a self-directed IRA. And then you can invest into real estate with your IRA directly. Now, there's some rules that you got to be careful around and how you pay for things and stuff like that, but you absolutely can invest in real estate directly with your IRA funds.
Interesting. Yeah. No, I did not know that.
Yeah, which makes the property then part of your retirement account. I mean, it's now part of that retirement account. Yeah, so it's handled much, much differently. Yeah.
I see. I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. If you want some information, just let me know. I'm happy to share it with you.
Yeah. Oh, send it my way. Yeah, dude. Okay. Yeah, I'll go over that.
Okay. All right. This is a big one for me. This is a big one for anybody. This is probably the number one question, certainly for new investors. If it's not about financing, it's certainly going to be about how do you identify a good investment opportunities. I mean, you mentioned a couple key factors, like some of the major expense possibilities: roof, hot water heater, furnace, AC, those things. I'm assuming you'll probably mention some of those, but is there anything else? How do you identify a good investment opportunity?
Some of the investment opportunities we were able to take advantage of were houses that didn't have an HVAC system or they were missing an air conditioner. So, it turns out no one really wants to buy a house without an air conditioner, especially in the summer. It's a real
Interesting.
detractor. So, that can bring a house down 10, 15, almost $20,000 just because no one wants to purchase it and worry about installing it. So we know an HVAC guy. I know a guy who can get us a good deal on that item. So we kind of look for houses that don't have an air conditioner in the summertime. Um, kind of out of the box. But we, like
That
I
is,
said,
huh.
different, huh? It's just something we noticed over time, over and over. It would come up. We'd get interested in a house. Oh, well, darn it, doesn't have an AC. Well, who cares? We got a guy.
Well, I don't know. I feel
That's
like you're
cool.
going to email me later and ask me to cut this from the video because now the secret's out.
Now yeah,
Everybody knows.
that's one you just start to run into over and over. And it's like, hey, wait a minute. Why should we be scared? You know, I think
Yeah.
one of the houses we bought didn't have a floor in the bathroom. That's a little scary.
Mhm.
Not everybody wants to just look, down. And so, sometimes you just have to have some guts. Hey, we can fix that. Nobody
Yeah.
else wants to fix this. So,
Yeah.
fixer
But
uppers and the gas heat. We always look for a 3 bedroom. We don't think 1 and 2 bedrooms necessarily are too interesting to us. We like 3 and 4 bedrooms. One or 2 bathrooms is perfect. So
Matt,
yeah.
yeah,
do you have any rules of thumb that you use as financial metrics when you're looking to purchase? You always hear about this, this 1% rule, which I think is probably a thing of the past, or very, very hard to come by nowadays. But do you have any sort of rule as far as returns, or the 1% rule, or a cash on cash return, IRR? Do you have anything like that you use as a benchmark for purchasing?
no. And ironically, my grandfather was a 1% rule type of guy, and he did real estate. That's sort of where I drew this power from to try this. I knew my grandfather had done it back in the day, and he always told me that. And I don't find that rule works really at all. We kind of just have to drive around the neighborhood and see what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Would we live in this neighborhood? Is the rent really worth what we're paying? And each house is going to be different.
Yeah.
The 1% rule, no, I threw it out the window before we
Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hard to find nowadays. Almost impossible, really, nowadays.
Yeah, no way.
Okay. All right. Moving on and kind of along the same lines a little bit here is what kind of real estate markets, are there any real estate markets that you're finding most promising right now? We highlighted a little bit over this. Anderson is one of the hot up and coming markets that we kind of tout a little bit in our market reports. The numbers look pretty good there. Are there any markets specifically that you want to reiterate that you kind of look at first?
Yeah, we like Indianapolis. We like the resources of a large metropolitan city. We think that bumps up our odds of being able to rent a place out when the unit is near the metro Indianapolis area. So we look there first, but we also like the north side and the northeast side as far as uh, high rent. There's a low vacancy, and that says something. And profitability on when you go to sell the unit, uh, of course, it would be great to own houses in Noblesville, Fishers, and Carmel. We don't, but we always look there first. We think would be great. Kind of taps into what would I have done differently. Maybe held out for a unit up in those areas. Wow, Hamilton County's just gone crazy,
Right.
and I'm from there, and I can vouch. But we're not always as lucky to find one up in that great area. However, we like Anderson, Fortville, uh, that side of town, Lawrence, Greenfield, uh, Sheridan, Westfield. We like that entire side of town, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, Matt, I think that'll serve you really well. So I live in McCordsville, and not only that, Hancock County's seen the highest growth than any other county in 2023 than any other county in the state of Indiana.
Wow.
So I think, yeah, if you're playing around in
Right.
Greenfield, I think you're going to see over the next few years. I think you'll see a tremendous amount of appreciation. I really do.
Certainly. We live in Lawrence, so and we've got units all the way from Anderson to Lawrence. So we're constantly driving that drive, and that's amazing over there. The growth. It's exciting.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it truly is. Well, that's great. Okay, I know the answer to this next question because it's there in your title, but I guess maybe you can allude to maybe why. So, do you establish an LLC to place your properties in? If so, what's kind of your thinking behind that? I think you've correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you've always had an LLC since right out the gate since we started working together.
That's right. I think for tax purposes, security
Yeah.
purposes,
Yeah.
uh, even lawsuit purposes, there's
Mm-hmm.
That's
probably
right.
reason to form an LLC just as a protective shell to separate yourself from your personal finances. It's kind of a must-have. I'm not sure you'd really want to own more than one or two rentals without forming an LLC.
Yeah.
Maybe no more than one. You just got to consider how much your business is worth. Um, so there are several ways to, you know, encapsulate your business even further. We
Yeah.
haven't done anything like that, but we wanted to leave that open down the road if we wanted to, um, secure ourselves more from any just, uh, God forbid, any outside forces or God acts of nature, acts of God. And I'm sure that's what your insurance company calls it. So anyway, yeah, we're just trying to protect ourselves with an LLC. And honestly, from a tax standpoint, I like it a lot better. So, and I think it's probably easier to get loans when you have an LLC. The more
Yeah.
I think about it, yeah,
Yeah.
I
Once
mean,
you have established income. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a must-have.
That makes sense. I agree. It's a must have primarily from the liability standpoint. If I were going to point out the most important one, protect yourself. If somebody trips and falls and they get sue happy, you can sleep at night knowing that your personal assets should be pretty well protected. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Now back to kind of your learning journey. You mentioned your grandfather kind of inspired you a little bit to get into real estate investing. Any other resources, books, websites that have been helpful to you? I mean, well, you also mentioned that you've been online happy too, right? You scoured anything specifically, any one thing specifically that you were like that helped really open the gate for me.
Yeah, I had a friend who used Red Door that joined a real estate club, and it cost quite a bit of money for him to join the club, but he had access to the videos and all their online library of resources. So he allowed me to look over his shoulder. Uh,
Nice.
and I never ended up joining the club, but I really got a kick out of watching the videos. And the more I, watched the videos, just the single home residences stood out as something that interested me. I'm not sure I want to own an apartment complex. That's not really my style.
Mhm.
Uh, but we like fixing up homes, so it kind of fit. And why fix them up and sell them when you can hang on to them and double and triple your money maybe in 10 years. So, you know, we're a buy and hold company instead of a buy and flip now. So kind of changed our style and for the long term, and we're going to stay that way.
Yeah, and just because you mentioned that, I'm kind of curious on this one too. You do a lot of DIY? Do you not? You do a lot of the work yourself?
We do. We
Yeah,
do everything we possibly can ourselves, even if we've never attempted it before. If we're intimidated, we have a list of contractors. And then, as you know, the repairs, sometimes we just have to have you guys find a guy. So we don't always have a guy on that can get out there quick enough. So, between us, my company, our vendors, and you guys, we've been able to cobble it together.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, good news. We only have two left here, and then we can finally let you go. Again, super grateful for you to even set aside
It's
a
been good
few
stuff.
minutes of your time.
I've
You've been
looked forward to this. Yeah, this is great.
so have we. Yeah, we've never done this before. I think honestly, it's gone so well. I
Yeah.
couldn't be more happy with how this has really turned out. So,
Sweet.
okay, how do you see the real estate market evolving over the next 5 to 10 years? Do you have any perspective on or outlook on how you envision it going over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, it kind of leads back to why we ever started this to begin with. We wanted to expand our retirement portfolio, but what we ran into, like everyone has these last 4 years, especially, is inflation. And you have to factor in inflation when you look at your IRA, your Roth, or whatever 401k you've got going on. And it just seemed like lately, I, my prediction for the future is grim. I don't know about inflation going away with wholesale prices maybe still a little high, and you know how that affects rent. So the reason we got into this is we predicted rent would go up, and interest rates are still as high as they've ever been. So I'm a little worried, honestly, about inflation driving real estate somehow. Hmm. Which I guess is not the
Yeah,
you know worst thing that could happen. There's as a as an investor, inflation isn't the worst thing. But then again, from a buyer standpoint, a first-time buyer standpoint, things are really tough, and that seems to be driving rent.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I agree totally. I mean, I think one of the biggest hedges against inflation is owning assets and owning real estate. And we saw that when we had that huge when everybody was freaking out about inflation, post COVID, all this stimulus money. I mean, we had homes that were going up 20-30% plus in terms of year over year rents. So I mean, I think it's one of the best hedges against inflation. And I agree with you, Matt. I think inflation is here to stay. Probably not at the levels that we have seen, but it's here to stay. I mean, like you said, interest rates are high, and I think owning real estate is only going to hedge against that. Your prices are going to go up, your rents are going to go up, and your values are going to go up as well.
Right.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Here we are. Well, what are your future goals and plans in your real estate investment journey? Let's hear where's Matt going? And if you say if it's to divest in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be really, really sad.
No, no, not at all. We want to expand. We want to buy the next unit. We're kind of waiting on rates to see what happens. We missed the boat this summer, and that's just because we sat on the sidelines. We didn't add a unit this year because of rates, strictly because of rates. In fact, I was leery to even purchase our last one, I think in last November. So, we'll see what happens. If the rates go down, we're back in for adding more units. I'm excited. I want to add another unit tomorrow. But got my real estate agent and my lender telling me maybe wait. They've been telling me that forever, but I never did to begin with. So I don't know. I think I do need to wait for the rates to go down, but the name of the game is to keep adding more units.
Do you have a goal of adding X amount of units per year, or is it just as deals come available, or how do you see once you start saying, hey, okay, I'm back in the buying game, how do you plan for that?
We like to buy it and have it ready to rent within 3 months. When we look to buy one, we don't want it to take forever to fix up and be ready.
Yeah.
So if you figure it takes 3 months, maybe 4, we try to do 3 a year when you're in the game. We can't do more than 3. So 1 to 3 would be great, adding per year. That's kind of the goal.
Okay. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. Well, let me close this out here, and then let's hang out for a second, Matt, if you don't mind, just to officially wrap up. But everyone, that's it. That is an insight into an actual active real estate investor here in the Indianapolis market, working with Red Door Property Management. But I mean, this isn't only about touting the successes of Red Door Property Management, which Matt has done a very good job at doing, and I'm so appreciative of it. But it's working with a property management company just in general and how it can assist you with your potential growth and achieving all the goals that your growing investor is trying to achieve. So, Matt, thank you so much for joining us. Mike, thank you for setting aside some time as well. If you guys already are not, like and subscribe to our channel, you want to do that. There's more riveting content coming, more interviews that we plan to do in the future. And with as great of a guest that Matt's been, we might have to invite him back later to just do some more of this. This was awesome.
Anytime.
So so thanks, Matt. I really appreciate it. And everyone else out there. Yeah. We'll
good stuff.
Absolutely. Thanks everyone else. We'll catch you in the next video.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Matt.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks for the time.